Good morning, everyone. Today, me and my group members Armina, Vishnu, and Tong will be presenting on Switzerland's legal system and its implications for TWU manufacturing as the company considers establishing a manufacturing facility in Switzerland. In the next few minutes, I will explain how the Swiss legal system works, why it is considered one of the most stable and business friendly legal systems in the world, and what important legal issues TWU should understand before making its investment decisions. Let's begin with a quick overview. The main question we are trying to answer is what legal issues must TWU manufacturing understand before opening a factory in Switzerland? Our research shows that Switzerland has a highly stable and well developed civil law system that provides businesses with a high level of legal certainty. It offers a strong protection for contracts, private property, and intellectual property, making it an attractive destination for foreign investment. However, companies must comply not only with federal laws but also with cantonal laws, which may differ depending on the location of their operations. Businesses also need to pay close attention to employment regulations, environmental requirements, and data protection laws to avoid legal and financial risks. Overall, our recommendation is that Switzerland is a low risk and business friendly location for manufacturing investment, provided that TWU plans carefully and complies with local legal requirements. Before looking at the legal system itself, it's helpful to understand why Switzerland is such an attractive place to do business. Switzerland is a federal democratic republic made up of 26 cantons, each with certain legislative and administrative powers. It has a population of around 9 million people and has four official languages: German, French, Italian, and Romance. Although it is relatively small country, Switzerland has one of the highest GDP per capita levels in the world and is internationally recognized for its strong economy, innovation, and political stability. Its major industries include advanced manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, financial services, and technology, making it an important global business hub. Many international companies chooses Switzerland because of its skilled workforce, excellent infrastructure, reliable legal system, and strategic location in Europe. For TWU manufacturing, these advantages provide a strong foundation for long-term investment and sustainable business growth. Now let's take a closer look at Switzerland's legal system. One of its key features is that it follows a civil law system, meaning that laws are primarily based on written legislation rather than previous court decisions. The judiciary is independent, ensuring that legal disputes are handled fairly and impartially. Switzerland also places great importance on the rule of law, transparent legal procedures, and the protection of private property rights. For businesses, this creates a predictable and trustworthy legal environment where laws are clear and applied consistently. For a company like TWU Manufacturing, this means greater confidence when signing contracts, making investments, and resolving disputes because the legal framework is stable and reliable. Finally, it is useful to compare Switzerland's legal system with Canada's. Switzerland follows the civil law tradition where legal rules are mainly found in written legal codes and statutes. Judges apply and interpret these laws rather than creating new legal principles through court decisions. Canada, in contrast, mainly follows a common law system where previous court decisions and legal precedents play a much larger role in interpreting and developing the law. For TWU manufacturing, this difference is important in Switzerland's businesses can generally find the relevant legal rules directly in legislation, making the legal framework more structured and predictable. Understanding this distinction will help TWU prepare contracts, compliance programs, and day to day business operations that meet Swiss legal requirements rather than simply relying on Canadian legal practices. Thank you. Now, I would like to ask my group presenter, Armina, to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Lakpa. Now I will talk about the historical development of Swiss law. The Swiss legal system was influenced by Roman law and later by both French and German legal traditions. A major turning point happened in 1848 when the federal constitution was created. This helped establish modern Switzerland. Later, the Swiss Civil Code was introduced in 1907, and the Swiss Code of Obligations was introduced in 1911. Since then, Swiss laws have continued to be updated and modernized to meet new businesses and social needs. These legal developments helped create a system that balanced tradition with modern business requirements, and this is one reason why Switzerland is considered a stable place to invest and do businesses. The importance of this history is that Switzerland has created a legal system that is both stable and modern, which is very attractive for businesses. Next, I will discuss the sources of Swiss law. There are five main sources of law in Switzerland. First is the federal constitution, which is the highest law in a country. Second are federal statutes, which are laws passed by the federal government. Third are federal ordinances, which provide detailed rules for applying those laws. Fourth are cantonal laws. Since Switzerland has 26 cantons, each canton can have its own laws in certain areas. And finally, Switzerland also follow international treaties that is has agreed to. Businesses operating in Switzerland need to understand that legal requirements can vary depending on cantons they choose. Because of this, companies should always research local regulations before starting operations. This is important for TW manufacturing because the company must follow both federal law and laws of the canton where it operates. Next, let's look at the structure of the Swiss court system. As you can see in a picture, the court system has several levels. At the bottom are the district courts, where most cases begin. Above them are the cantonal courts, which hear appeals from lower courts. Next are federal administrative and specialized courts, which deal with specific legal matters. At the top is the Federal Supreme Court, which is the highest court in Switzerland. These courts handle civil cases, criminal cases, and administrative disputes. Having a clear court helps ensure that legal decisions are reviewed properly and that disputes are handled fairly. For businesses, this clear court structure provides a reliable way to resolve legal conflicts. Moving on the next slide to court procedure and dispute resolutions. A typical legal case starts in a district court. If one side disagrees with the decision, they can appeal to a cantonal court. After that, a final appeal can be made to the Federal Supreme Court. However, many businesses prefer alternative dispute resolution methods, such as arbitration and mediation. These methods are often faster and less expensive than going to court. They can also help preserve business relationships because the processes is usually more cooperative than traditional litigation. Switzerland is well known around the world as a leader location for commercial arbitration, making it a trusted place to resolve businesses disputes. For my final slide, I will discuss cultural influences on Swiss law. Swiss business culture is based on trust, reliability, precious cooperation, and long term relationships. These values have also influenced the legal system. One important legal principle in Switzerland is good faith. Good faith means that businesses and individuals should act honestly and fairly when dealing with others. This principle is important during contract negotiations, contract performance, and everyday business activities. Companies that are transparent and reliable are more likely to build strong businesses partnerships in Switzerland. And for TWU manufacturing, maintaining trust, transparency, and good business relationships will be essential for success in Switzerland. Now I will ask my friend Vishnu to go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Armina. I will now discuss this several important legal factors that TWU manufacturing should consider when operating in Switzerland. First, the Swiss constitution has a significant impact on the business law. It guarantees important rights such as economic freedom, property rights, equal treatment, and due process. These protections help create a stable and predictable business environments for investors. This means businesses are protected from arbitrary government actions and can operate with greater confidence. This strong constitutional foundation is one of the reasons Switzerland is considered a highly attractive destination for foreign investments. For the next slide, we will discuss about the key legislation affecting the international companies. So for several important laws affect international companies operating in Switzerland. The Swiss Code of Obligations regulates contracts, employment relationship, and corporate governance. The Competition Act promotes fair competition and prevents anti-competitive practices such as cartels. The Federal Act on Data Protection governs how companies collect and process personal information. In addition, the environmental legislation regulates manufacturing permits, waste management, and environmental compliance. Together, these laws provide a clear legal framework for businesses entering the Swiss market. Moving on to the contract law in Switzerland. So, contract law is especially important for TWU manufacturing. Swiss contract law is based on four key principles: the freedom of contract, good faith, mutual consent, and legal capacity. A unique feature of the Swiss law is that many contracts can legally be oral. However, in written contracts are strongly recommended because they provide clarity and reduce the risk of disputes. Swiss courts generally enforce valid contracts strictly. For this reason, TWU should use detailed written agreements with suppliers, distributors, employees, and other business partners. Moving on to the next slide, intellectual property protection. Switzerland is internationally recognized for its strong intellectual property protection. Business can protect patents, trademarks, copyrights, industrial designs, and the trade secrets. Switzerland is also participating in major international agreements, including the TRIPS agreement, the Paris Convention, and the WIPO treaties. For the TWU manufacturing, these protections are very important because they safeguard manufacturing technologies, product innovations, trade secrets, and the corporate branding. So, strong intellectual property protection helps maintain a competitive advantage and encourage innovations. So, let's go to the final slide, the employment law in Switzerland. Finally, the employment law is another important consideration. Employment contracts are governed by the Swiss Code of Obligations and include several employee protections. These include limits on working hours, overtime compensation requirements, annual vacation entitlements, and notice period for terminations. Employers are also required to contribute to social insurance programs such as pension, unemployment, and accident insurance. For the TWU manufacturing, it is essential that the HR policies comply with the Swiss labor standards and any applicable collective agreements. By following these requirements, the company can reduce the legal risk and maintain a productive workforce. So thank you, and I will hand over the presentation to Flora.
Okay, thank you, Vishnu. Now let's come to the next slide, manufacturing, specific legal considerations. Before TWU manufacturing can begin operations, we must go through several legal steps. First, we need to register the business with the local commercial register. Then, depending on the location, we must obtain zoning approvals and construction permits. Environmental permits are also required. Switzerland takes environmental protection very seriously. Once the factory is running, ongoing compliance becomes critical. This includes workplace health and safety regulations, environmental monitoring, waste management, and product liability rules. Failure to comply can lead to fines, project delays, or even legal liability. So, from day one, we need a dedicated compliance plan. Next slide. Switzerland versus Canada. Legal comparison. Let's briefly compare Switzerland with Canada, because what works in Vancouver might not work in Zurich. Canada follows a common law system, where judicial precedent is key. Switzerland uses a civil law system based on written legal codes. This means Swiss laws are more codified and predictable, but less flexible. Both countries are federal, but Switzerland has 26 cantons, each with its own laws. Contract interpretation in Canada relies on past court decisions. In Switzerland, it's based on the Code of Obligations. Arbitration is widely used in both, but Switzerland is a global hub for international arbitration. IP protection is very strong in both, but Switzerland has a slight edge due to its Central European location and strict enforcement. The key lesson: we cannot simply copy Canadian practices into Switzerland. We must adapt. Next slide. Key legal risks for TWU manufacturing. Now let's talk about risks. Because every international expansion comes with legal exposure. First, regulatory compliance. Switzerland has federal and cantonal requirements. Missing a permit can shut down operations. Mitigation: hire local legal counsel. Second, employment law. Labor disputes or wrongful dismissal claims can be costly. We need Swiss compliant HR policies. Third, data privacy. Switzerland has strict data protection laws. Violations lead to fines. We must implement strong privacy programs. Fourth, competition law. Competition law. Anti-competition behavior, like price fixing, is heavily penalized. Training and monitoring are essential. Finally, environmental compliance. Permits of emissions, waste, and water use are strictly enforced. We should conduct an environmental assessment before choosing a site. All these risks are manageable, but only with proactive planning. Next slide. Why Switzerland is attractive for foreign investment. Despite those risks, Switzerland remains one of the best places in the world to invest. Why? Political stability, no sudden policy changes, strong rule of law, contracts are enforced, low corruption, ranked among the cleanest countries globally, highly educated workforce, perfect for advanced manufacturing, excellent infrastructure, roads, rail, digital networks, strong IP protection. Our patents and trade secrets are safe, access to European markets. Through bilateral treaties and a predictable regulatory environment, you know what to expect. For TWU, This means lower legal and operational risk compared to many other countries. It's a safe long-term bet. Next slide. Strategic recommendations for TW manufacturing. Based on our analysis, here are 6 concrete steps before entering Switzerland. 1. Retain a Swiss legal counsel, not a Canadian lawyer, a local expert. 2. Conduct a full legal due diligence on contracts, permits, and liabilities. 3. Register all trademarks and patents with the Swiss Federal Institute for Intellectual Property. 4. Develop Swiss-compliant contracts for suppliers, distributors, and employees in writing under Swiss law. 5. Set up a Swiss risk management and compliance system, separate from our Canadian system. 6. Review container requirements before choosing a factory site. Taxes, zoning, and permits vary significantly between cantons. Our overall recommendation: Switzerland is a highly attractive and legally secure location for TWU's manufacturing expansion. Next slide, conclusion. To wrap up, Switzerland offers a stable, predictable civil law system with strong constitutional protections for business. Contracts and intellectual property are well protected. Employment, environmental, and data privacy laws require careful compliance, but the risks are manageable. With proper legal advice and advanced planning, TW manufacturing can operate successfully in Switzerland. So, my final message to the CEO: Switzerland provides a secure, transparent, and business-friendly legal environment. It is one of the most attractive destinations for the international manufacturing investment. Thank you for all your patience.